Hi, my name is Alistair Crane. I'm a science fiction fantasy writer, and this is a Q&A. I thought, today we might want to do something different, something not so theoretical. It's always this education stuff with me. So, you know what? I asked you guys to send me some questions. I myself wrote down some questions to fill this hole of knowledge that you guys have about me and my intentions with this channel and with my book that's coming out. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that I'm writing a book. They only know me as the educator on YouTube, but it's all related. And I thought that maybe today we can do a deep dive into my past, into what I want to achieve with this channel, what my book is about, why I think that you guys might want to be interested in my book this coming out this November. The first question we have is, who are you and why should we listen to you? That's a good question. I am not a multiple published author like Brandon Sanderson. I don't have 50 books on Amazon proving my ability to be able to write. I don't have that track record yet. I am planning to, of course, and it's my goal to become a multiple epos published author, like having multiple sagas, having a huge bibliography basically. But I started this channel with a very distinct intention, and that was different from other writing channels, which is I'm not gonna teach you how to write. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a rule book to this. There is, of course, experience and effort and trying things and seeing how things not working. And throughout this process, a few things have been established that work very well in the cosmos. It's not that there aren't any rules, it's that everyone has to sort of find their own rules. But you guys already know this. I mean, you can watch so many YouTube videos on how to write, what you shouldn't do, and you have to sort of blend out the bad advice with the good advice. That's not what I'm here for. I really started this channel because I felt that there was sort of a gap in academics that I wanted to sort of fulfill. My background is I was studying screenwriting and novel writing for about 6 years. I went to do a bachelor's in film studies and then did my master's in serious storytelling for epos fantasy. So I was sort of working as a television writer and came up through the show running system and then developed an interest in and wrote my thesis, after all, in the mythopoeia and the fantastical world building bracket of fantasy writing. So throughout writing for television and writing screenplays, I sort of started developing this love for books that I didn't have before, because I felt that TV nowadays in the climate and the political climate wasn't really interested in doing original stuff. They are now working a lot with IP, as we can see with everything major is based on a book, which is fine, and I get it. It was already tested by an audience, and I understand that the television industry is interested in testing things before spending a lot of money. But money is the problem, right? Like there's sort of a lot of risks involved in this whole industry, so they wouldn't want to go with somebody creating something original, which I totally understand. It's not my money. So I really started getting into books that were super deeply layered, complex in their mythopoeia and in their world building and lore building, and I wanted to do that, right? But I was going to uni and did my master's degree in creative writing, and as I was doing that, I felt that the academic system or the way we were taught writing was flawed. And why was it flawed? Because I was in the midst of writing my novel while I was studying. So I was writing my novel, and I came to uni, and it was always teachers teaching us about sort of the building blocks of storytelling, right? Even when you do a master's, even when you specialize in a specific genre and a specific way of storytelling, they still teach you how to write, because that's all they can do. They can't write for you, they can't teach you what to write, they can only teach you what we know from academic standpoints, right? So we have character development, lore building, world building. What are all the facets of creating a rich world and stuff like this. There's so much more to it, and you can go to uni for it, which I did. So, but when I was writing my book, what I really felt is that there was a challenging aspect to write about the stuff I was interested in. What was I interested in? I really like theology. I am really interested in the relationship between characters and a pantheon. I'm really interested in their relationship to their biological world. What does it mean to be a human? What does it mean to exist within the four-dimensional space that is governed by a personal creator, or by the devil, or by any entity that we are not aware of? Because there is no answer to our reality and our existence, I felt propelled to tell stories where characters were facing this issue as well. So I've always felt that we are, as humans, even though we have done many great things, I feel like that we are very limited in our consciousness and our, well, in spiritual terms, our ability to transcend into some sort of realm where our existence might be answered by a higher purpose. And I did not see this in real life. So I was interested in exploring these themes of existence, of godhood, of divinity, and what does that mean in a physical space, right? So it's not only a guy talking to God the whole time. It's, of course, he is inside a very deeply layered, complex world that is to be reckoned with, that is to be conquered on some sort of level. He might be born, and he is, and the world was already conquered before him, which is the case with this one, right? So we are born, and we are aware that before us, many other people came and already were building stuff, and we have nothing, and we start from zero. And this oppression and this power dynamics, you see this a lot in fantasy, of course. That's not original. But what is original is, I think, the interaction with the ideologies of the characters and the philosophies that my fantasy worlds are sort of diving deep into. And I wanted to ingrain that into my work. We call this the artist's voice, right? What makes me special does make another person special. Another person has other specialities. I know my speciality after writing for 6 years. I know my specialty is in the communication with the divine, that there's some sort of oppressive nature, that I want to understand the nature of godhood, of who rules the world, good and evil contending in some sort of cosmic theological space. And that's why I specialize. That's what I specialize in. Now, a lot of people don't have the knowledge of what this genre of science fiction and fantasy did before me. So I don't want to overstimulate them with all these theological ideas that where they think they don't know how to access it, because they don't have the interests I have, and that makes total sense. So I wanted to create this YouTube channel to teach people that I'm not I something that is building on a foundation other authors have laid before me, that there is a sort of history to these questions, and that I would like to be a part of this evolution of writers who have tried to solve the problem of God in speculative fiction. So that I could be a part of a chain of getting eventually maybe to the answers that we are trying to figure out as gods. I do this in fiction. Other philosophers have done that in non-fiction, or have used other mediums of expressing their ideas. There are also a lot of public speakers who do this, but I use fiction to sort of create a simulated environment in order to think in a theoretical sense more about the thematic premises of my novels. Of course, this now sounds all very boring, but I'm trying to make it as entertaining and as action-packed and as deep and as emotional heavy as any other fantasy novel out there. I just feel that my characters are really dealing mostly with their existence and that relationship of their creator, which is something that has been following me since I was born. I never understood why I was born. I never understood why I had to be here, if there was some sort of purpose. And if there was a purpose, that would be a prison in a theological sense. Or after all, there is a sort of paradox and being alive and how reality functions and how I have conscious thoughts about things that can never be answered, how I know that a God might exist, a higher power than myself, and how I know of my limitness and fragility and how I am this small in a cosmos that is this grand, and what that means for my daily life and my conflicts that I face. And I think that was something that I always wanted to ingrain in the fantasy work. I know this is not original. I'm just saying that that is my specialty. There are many others before me, and I want to continue this conversation. That's why I'm teaching theology and cosmology on YouTube, to really lay a base foundation for this. And why should people listen to me? Well, people shouldn't listen to me, full stop, end of conversation. People should only listen to themselves. They should take everything I say with a grain of salt, because what works for me doesn't work for others. But it's nice to hear what works for other people, and what works for me is this. When I write my novel, I am constantly accessing questions I have, not only about my reality, but also about my existence, my theological premises, my ideologies, my belief systems. So when I write, and I don't know if other writers also have this, and they might not, but when I write, it is important for me to understand who I am. I might not have the answers to everything, but I have the questions. And this YouTube channel is truly about the idea of asking the right questions. When I was in academic studies and was learning how to write, I noticed that the academic system was not asking the students the right questions, right? So they're asking about story-related stuff. There's a tutor and a student, they're sitting there. The student has written a story. The tutor read it. So now he starts development on the story. He starts asking, who's your character? Who's this? What happens here? And that makes sense. Editing and development is a very vital stage of storytelling. But when you're in academics, what you want to do is not only figure out what is best for this particular story, but also figure out who you are, so you can write better stories in the future. How do you figure out who you are? You can never really truly figure it out. You can grow into it, and it will take you years. So you shouldn't wait around, you should still write. But what can the writing provide? The writing can provide a base layer of giving whatever your belief systems already are an extended arm. And if you are a believer in something, you shouldn't write a propaganda piece. You should use fiction to access multiple points of views and access a sort of global questions around the space. Of course, it's more complex than that. I'm trying to break it down, but you should use your writing to access certain questions you have that are layered within your identity, that are layered within your belief systems of who you are, why you exist, what your relationship is to your... I don't always want to use the word God, because everyone has a completely different association with that word. But I'm talking about that many writers are using art to run away from their problems. They're using art to get away from their world, right? So as a lot of readers also do, the escapism of it all, right? They read books in order to get away from their life. This is something that I understand. But when you're a creator, you have to understand your creation. You can only understand your creation, of course, if you understand the creator. It's a paradox in itself. But you cannot understand the creator. So how can you understand your creation? It's a paradox, and this YouTube channel really dives deep into why your belief systems shape everything you write, why your ideologies are ingrained in your work and you don't even know it. The reality of it all is it's not that black and white. We tend as humans to be very extremist about things. Both of these writers don't know why they write this. They might have an inkling that their relationship with their parents and their relationship with their partner is struggling, and therefore that is something that they're interested in. They might always know the source, but the physiopsychology of deeper levels of this idea are ingrained in their work. When they're done writing, they see it later, or other people tell them. And I would like to introduce this process of analysis within the process of working, because I truly believe that if you work that way, because I'm working that way, if you work that way, it can offer you new avenues of exploring deeper themes. Mine is a very complex theme, the theme of a creator and a created, of destiny that is shaped by a creator, that is shaped by a tyrant God, by the idea of good being evil and evil being good and being the same organism, using that as a foundation for a sociological understanding of the races that exist in the world, but also, of course, of the geographic and biological foundation on which the biotope and the ecology sort of functions in the world. So when Brandon Sanderson says he likes magic system, hard magic system, I like hard science in fantasy world. So that the world is based on a system that works because every evolutionary aspect has a reason in science in our world, and I believe in other planetary systems or other dimensions this would also be the case. So this is something that I'm exploring, and that's why I am intending to grow this YouTube channel, to prove to people that this is something new that we can offer to the medium of literature, and also that other people can think about themselves in a deeper sociological context, psychological context, so they can write better books, because they understand their belief systems, their ideologies that are sort of ingrained in their work, if they know it or not. And I want to sort of show them that if they dive deeper into the philosophies of the human mind, of their own human mind, that will influence subsequently their creations.